Building the perfect mid-size family sedan is never an easy proposition. Every manufacturer has their own unique interpretation of what exactly makes the perfect family sedan. Today I'm driving the 2015 Hyundai Sonata Sport, equipped with the 2-liter turbocharged engine. Now Hyundai claims this is the sportiest, most fun-to-drive Sonata they've ever built. Let's take a look and see if that claim is valid. So if you guys can remember, a few months ago, I showed you guys the Limited, equipped with the more mainstream 2.4-liter GDI engine, the base motor. Today, Hyundai has sent me over the Sport model equipped with the turbocharged engine, the up-level 2-liter turbo. This is designed to replace the V6 engine. Hyundai's been using an all 4-cylinder lineup since the previous generation Sonata came to market in 2011. But as you can see, this all-new model sports kind of a more mature design language. I showed you guys what that looked like back in the Limited model. This Sport model definitely sports some attributes to make it look a little bit more distinctive. You can see the front end has its own unique grille design, its own unique fascia. Coming around the side, these 18-inch wheels fill out the wheel wells much better than the small 17s on the Limited or the 17s that you'll find on the base 2.4-liter engine. Now, coming around back, this is where you're going to really notice the Sport 2.0T. In addition to the overload of badges, you'll have this subtle little rear lip spoiler, and then, of course, the quad outlet exhausts that are poking out from underneath the rear bumper. I mean, this is the first family sedan on the market with a quad outlet exhaust. This is a mainstream family sedan. I'm not including the ones you're going to find from a luxury brand or performance brand. Anyways, in terms of the size of the Sonata, Hyundai didn't really change it. It's still it fits right in the middle of the segment in terms of overall length, in terms of wheelbase. The cabin of this car is certainly a lot more roomier versus the previous model. Hyundai did make the roof less sloping, so you do have a little bit more headroom in the back. I mean, overall, you can still get this car in several different trims. There's the base SE, mid-level Sport, top-of-the-line Limited, and then, of course, there's the Eco, and then Hyundai just reintroduced the hybrid model based on this all-new platform. Now, overall, I think the design certainly looks much better. The old one definitely didn't age very well, whereas this new one is a little bit more mature. It isn't quite as distinctive as the old one. It kind of just reminds me of a Kia Optima, which is honestly, arguably, the better looking of the two, at least when the previous generation came out. But let's get on the inside and see some of the differences between the Sport and the Limited that I showed you guys a few months ago. So just as I showed you guys in the Limited trim, you can tell the cabin of the Sport model has a couple of nice touches to make it a little bit more distinctive, a little bit more unique. You're immediately going to notice the seats. They do have thicker bolstering. I like the contrasting piping along the seams. And then, of course, if you guys go for the turbo motor, Hyundai ambitiously grafts turbo badges into both front seats. Just to remind you, you do have the up-level engine. Another thing you're going to notice is that nice-looking flat-bottom steering wheel. That's probably the nicest steering wheel Hyundai has put in any of their production cars, to be honest. Now, stepping inside the cabin, like I said before, the new Sonata has a much more roomier feeling cabin. You do have to duck your head, but it's not as bad as the previous generation with those swoopy design languages. Now, shutting the door has a nice solid feel to it, and you can tell here's the key for the car. It's basically Hyundai's newer key fob. I don't like how it's brown. I kind of wish that it was black. I mean, not everybody wants a brown key fob, but nonetheless, to each their own. It has to do with your taste. So push button start is standard on this high trim, so all you have to do is put your foot on the brake and then push the start button to start up the engine. Now you can see here the gauges are also unique to the Sport model. The Limited had a slightly different design. I really like the look of these gauges. I think they look very high-end, very classy, very simple as well, very easy to read. And you can tell the rest of this cabin looks nice. As opposed to the faux, unconvincing wood grain that was in the Limited, you do have this silver-painted carbon fiber look plastic, which does look much better. I'm a big fan of just going with this design theme as opposed to the faux wood. If you're going to give me luxury, it better be real wood, basically. Now, the door panels do have a soft touch grain vibrating material. It is hard to plastic right here, but it's soft touch down here where your elbows are going to rest. The window is automatic up down for both front windows. I kind of wish Hyundai made it for all four. Now, looking at the rest of the center stack here, you can see Hyundai has a really nice layout. This looks much better and is much more intuitive versus the previous generation. You can see here you have a much larger 8-inch display here. It is a touchscreen display. If you want to use the touchscreen, there is no secondary controls here, like for example Mazda would give to you. I really like the way the layout is of the buttons. You have your certain menu options here, your nav option, your radio, your phone. Everything's well labeled. Everything works well. You have very big knobs for your tuning, for your volume. Climate control is down here. You have dual zone automatic climate control with nice knobs to adjust the temperature. Very, very, very nice how Hyundai gave you that. I mean, the overall design here, the dashboard is soft touch materials. You do have some faux stitching here on the instrument panel lid. Now, a 6-speed automatic transmission is standard on every Sonata, even the Sport. If you guys go for the Eco model, which is a different review, it'll have a 7-speed dual clutch, but there is no more manual transmission available. When you do put the car in reverse, you do have a nice backup camera with some trajectory and some parking sensors. No front parking sensors, just the rear parking sensors. This car does not have an automatic parallel parking feature like some of its competitors do, like Ford, for example. I really like this little cubby right here. You can basically just put your phone in there. You have your power outlet, your USB, your aux port in there, and then you can close that when you don't want people to see all your stuff. Hyundai does give you an electronic parking brake this year with a drive mode button here, which will alternate between Eco, Sport, and then normal, of course. And then, of course, there's an auto hold function. When you come to a complete stop, the vehicle will actually hold the car's brakes for you. Now, looking at the center console here, it's a good size. You have some additional storage. There is no power outlet in there, which is fine. Hyundai gives that to you in there. Now, my particular tester does have the Ultimate package, which rolls in this huge panoramic sunroof. Hyundai actually got rid of that package on the Sport. Now there's a 2.0T Limited that'll give you all that features. The glove compartment, it's a decent size. It's not lined with felt, but it is damped. I mean, overall, I really like the cabin of this car, especially in the Sport. No more that ugly fake wood trim. I like the flat bottom wheel. I like the instrument panel gauges. I mean, everything about this car certainly looks better. It is much more intuitive, and I think the interior will age much better than the previous model. So the back seat was actually a weak area of the previous generation Sonata. You can see Hyundai has pretty much addressed that with this newer model. The headroom is a little bit better because the roof doesn't slope down as much as the previous model. But you can see here, legroom is actually quite generous as well. Stepping inside, I have plenty of legroom here. I have plenty of foot space underneath there. Shutting the door panel material is actually soft touch right here, in addition to soft touch there. You do have a heated rear seat for backseat passengers, in addition to the ventilated seats up front, which are heated as well. Nice rear seat air vents, and I like how Hyundai actually gives you this little nice feature that you find on luxury cars, the sunshade, which is manual, but it's nice that Hyundai at least gives you that feature. So checking out the trunk capacity, the Sonata has one of the largest trunks in the class. You're looking at just around 16 cubic feet of space, a very large opening as well. Nicely finished cargo area. You do have hinges that will crush your cargo. And then when you look underneath here, Hyundai at least still gives you a temporary spare tire, not that stupid fix-a-flat kit that a lot of manufacturers are going with. And taking a quick peek underneath the hood of this Sonata Sport 2.0T, you're going to find, obviously, a 2-liter turbocharged direct injection engine. It's part of their GDI engine family. GDI stands for gasoline direct injection. Now, this is the up-level engine. The ticking noise you're going to hear is from the direct injection, obviously. Now, this motor is actually carryover from last year. However, it does make a lot less power. Hyundai now says this engine makes 245 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque, which is down about 30 horses versus last year's model. Now, Hyundai says they beefed up the mid-range. This car feels a lot quicker, more responsive in the real world, where honestly I think they just downgraded the numbers because I think the old engine was slightly overrated. Now, fuel economy is one concern. Hyundai got rid of a V6 engine entirely, which did lighten up the front end. Fuel economy for this turbo model is rated at 23 in the city, 32 on the highway. You can put regular gas in this car, and which is actually about the same MPG numbers you're going to get for most of its V6 competitors. Now, this car only comes with front-wheel drive. It's paired with that 6-speed automatic. Let's get on the road and see how it all works together, shall we? So it comes as no surprise that family sedans are typically not my cup of tea. However, every time I do drive one of these cars, I can see exactly why they're the top segment for the US market. They're just really great all-around vehicles. They're really comfortable to drive. They're very spacious inside. They get good gas mileage. They're stylish now. They're packed full of technology that makes them pretty much emulate luxury cars. And they all do that at a pretty reasonable price that's within the affordable realm of most of the people in the US. Now, Hyundai pretty much redesigned this car for 2015. It's coming out at the same time as an all-new Camry. And then, of course, there's still the stalwart players like the Honda Accord, the Ford Fusion, the Nissan Altima. However, I wasn't too impressed with the limited 2.4, but let's see how this Sport 2.0T does, shall we? Now, one of my complaints with the limited model was the somewhat slow shifting transmission and the somewhat lazy to rev 2.4 liter engine, which it was smooth, it was quiet most of the times, and it will satisfy most of the people who are going to buy this type of car. However, for the enthusiasts, Hyundai really wants to target them now, and they say that now that they've got quality up, they've got their reputation up, they've got value, they want more sporty driving dynamics, and that was the focus with this all-new Sonata. And I have to say, this sport model is certainly surprising. From behind the wheel here, when you're just driving the car normally, it feels like a typical family sedan. When you cycle between the drive modes here, I've got it in the normal mode right now. The steering lights up, the throttle gets a little bit less sensitive, the transmission kind of just goes about its business. Now, one of my issues with this car still is the transmission. The 6-speed auto, while smooth, just doesn't shift quick enough to my liking, especially when you have it in the eco and the normal mode. Now, when you plop it back into sport mode, you can pretty much use the paddle shifters here if you'd like and switch it over to the manual mode here. And it doesn't really rev match on your downshifts, but I have to remember this is still a family sedan, so you have to kind of lower your expectations. But overall, this car, going around this curvy back road here, the steering is much better. Hyundai has definitely been working on fine-tuning their steering responses, and this car's steering certainly feels a lot better versus the previous Sonata, which had really weird-feeling steering. It's still not up to the class leaders. The Honda Accord, the Volkswagen Passat, the Ford Fusion all have slightly better-feeling steering, but as a family sedan, this car certainly excels. You have really great visibility. You have much larger side mirrors. The visibility out of the back's not as terrible as it was with the previous model. And, of course, this car's ride quality. My sport model has these 18-inch wheels, and this car rides pretty well, especially around the crappy roads around the DC area here. It soaks up the bumps really well, and this car certainly feels much more refined and more elegant versus the old model. Now, with the 2.0T engine, this is designed to replace a V6 engine. And I have to say, in terms of its responsiveness, I'm not really feeling much more speed versus last year's model. I am noticing the power delivery is a little bit smoother. It's not as lumpy. There's not as much turbo lag as the old model. So Hyundai did address that. However, in terms of 0 to 60 sprints, I would not pick a fight with any V6 family sedan competitor. The Accord, the Altima, the Passat, all of those cars will smoke this car in a straight line. And Hyundai says they haven't altered the performance. 0 to 60 times of the old model were around 7.5 seconds. People have been testing this new Model B around 8 seconds, so it's pretty slow compared to its V6 competitors, which will do it in 6.5 seconds or less. But people don't buy family sedans to go drag racing, and when you do get this car up on the highway, I can pretty much turn on the cruise control. It's got smart cruise control. That's a kind of a rare feature in the family sedan class. A lot of the competitors still don't offer it, or you have to go for the very highest trim. And Hyundai smart cruise control works very well. You just kind of set the cruise at 60 miles an hour and it follows the car in front of you. It works very well. The only thing this car doesn't have is the active lane keep assist. It only has the lane departure, so it'll just beep at you, but it won't actively correct you. It doesn't have collision mitigation braking, where it'll actually stop the car if you're not going to hit the brakes. It'll just kind of audibly warn you that you're going to hit the car in front of you, but it's depending on you to actually hit the brakes. Now, overall, as a family car, this car definitely excels. It's hard to find a family sedan that doesn't do well on the market. Every one of them drives really well. The Hyundai certainly has its own unique proposition. I really like the premium features in here. I like the driving dynamics of the Sport much better than the limited model. But overall, this car still is not my choice for the driver's choice in the segment. The Accord, the Mazda 6, they're much more engaging in the corners. And then, of course, with the Accord, you can get it with a V6 engine. It's much more potent when you guys put your foot down. But coming up to the conclusion of this review, This Sport 2.0T that I'm driving is probably the most expensive one you're going to buy in terms of all the trim levels. It starts at about $29,500, and that's for the Sport model. It comes pretty well equipped. Now, my particular one has the Ultimate package. That gives you the big panoramic sunroof, the smart cruise control, the heated and cooled seats, upgraded audio. You actually can't even get the Ultimate package on the Sport anymore. Hyundai introduced a limited trim that gives you all those features. The Ultimate package is about $5,000, so in total, my particular tester is about $34,500, which makes it about the same amount of money for a loaded Camry, loaded Accord. A loaded Ultima is a little bit less expensive. A Fusion, however, is still one of the most expensive ones in the segment. But I mean, overall, Hyundai's pretty much hit a sweet spot here with all the technology, all the value that they've built in. And of course, in terms of fuel economy, that's another issue with the 2.0T model. This particular 2.0T that I've been averaging about 18 miles per gallon in mostly city with my lead foot. Now, when I got it up on the highway, I did get about 32 miles per gallon, so the EPA numbers are about right. Personally, I think a V6 family sedan will probably do the same MPG just because it doesn't have to work as hard. You don't have to put your foot down as much. And I also like the sound. This 2.0T engine is definitely too quiet, especially for those 4 exhaust pipes that are sticking out of the back. But nonetheless, I'm still impressed with this Sonata, this current generation Sonata. But as you all know, the family sedan segment is definitely hot. So if you're in the market for one of these vehicles, make sure you check out the competitors as well. The Accord, the new Camry, the Ultima, the Fusion. All of them are great choices as well. And then, of course, I showed you guys the Subaru Legacy if you want all-wheel drive for those of you who live in the snowbelt states. But anyways, hope you guys have enjoyed my overview of this 2015 Sonata Sport with the 2.0T engine. If you guys are interested in seeing the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can keep giving you these reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.